Hello my dear children, myself Deepthi, a faculty of Silver Hills Public School from Social Science Department. Here we will discuss about Democratic Politics, Chapter 2, Class 10 CBSE. For a better understanding, I divided the chapter into different heads. The learning objective of this chapter is to know and understand about the concept of federalism and decentralization. Today, these are the topics which we are going to discuss. First point, federalism, unitary system, features of federalism, categories of federalism, what makes India a federal country, residuary subjects, how is federalism practiced, decentralization in India. Federalism. The term word federalism is derived from the Latin word fidus, which means a treaty or a pact. Their common meaning until the last 18th century was the relationship between the sovereign states based on a treaty. Now, what is federalism? Federalism is a system of government in which the power is shared between the central authority and various constituent units of a country. Usually, federalism has both levels of government. One is the government for the entire country, that commonly known as central government, and that related to few subjects of common national interest, and other government at the level of provinces or states that took after much of the day-to-day administration of their states. Actually, both these governments, the central government and the state government, are not dependent with each other. They are independent. Our next topic is unitary form of government. In this sense, federation has contrasted with the unitary form of government. Under the unitary form of government, there is only one level of government and all the subunits are subordinate to this central government. Next topic, differentiate between the unitary system and federal system. See, we have discussed about federalism. What is federalism? The division of power between the central government and state government. But in a unitary system, there is only one level of government and all the other subunits are subordinate to this central government. In a unitary system, central government can pass orders to the state government and state government is answerable to the central government. But in a federalism, the central government cannot order the state government to do something, and state government is not answerable to the central government. But in a democratic country like India, both the governments, central government and state government, is answerable to the people. Our next topic is the key features of federalism. In a federalism, there are two or more levels of government. The different levels of government and different organs of government has their own jurisdiction in matters with legislation, administration and taxation. And these jurisdiction of these governments or the organs of the governments and the different levels of the government are clearly specified in our constitution. That means these are constitutionally guaranteed. Then, the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be changed by one level of government. It should have the consent of both levels of government. Fifth point, judiciary plays a very important role in federalism. The court can interrupt the provisions of constitution and the powers of the different levels of government. Next point, the sources of revenue for each levels of government are clearly specified in our constitution to stabilize the financial autonomy. Then, the federal system has dual objectives to safeguard and promote the unity of the country, at the same time accommodate the regional diversity. Our next topic is categories of federalism. The division of power between the central government and state government varies from one federation to another. It is on the basis of the historical context in which the federation was formed. There are two types of federalism. In the first category, the coming together federalism, It includes USA, Switzerland and Australia. In this category, the subunits, the state constituent units are having equal power. The next category is holding together federation. In this federation, it includes India, Belgium, Spain. In this category, the central government tends to be more powerful. Our next topic is what makes India a federal country. In the previous chapter, power sharing, we have discussed about the problems faced by the small countries like Belgium and Sri Lanka how to accommodate the regional diversities. Just think about a country like India, how we are accommodating the regional diversities and what is the power sharing arrangements in our country. Let us begin with our constitution. India became independent after a long struggle, freedom movements and a painful partition. As we got independence, so many princely states became a part of our country. Our constitution declares India as a union of state. Actually, we are not using the word federation, but we are following the basic principles and policies of federalism. Our constitution declares India as a two-tier democracy. That means we have central government for the entire country and the state government for the state level. Thus, the constitution recognizes about the three-tier democracy, and that is known as local self-government. The division between the central government and state government, that power clearly specified in our constitution, and that is known as 3-4 legislation. And those three lists are union list, state list and concurrent list. Now let us discuss about union list. Union list, it includes subjects of national importance such as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking, communication and currency. The union government alone can make laws relating to the subjects mentioned in this list. So, union government is making the laws in union list. Next one is state list. It contains subjects of state and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigation. The state governments alone can make laws relating to the subjects mentioned in this list. That is the second list, that is state list. State government has the power to make laws. Next one is concurrent list. This includes subjects of common interest to both the union government as well as the state governments. This list includes education, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption and successions. Both the union as well as the state government can make laws on the subject mentioned in this list. If their laws conflict with each other, the law made by the union government will be considered. So, there are three lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. Just think about the subjects which are not enlisted in these three lists. That is known as residuary subjects. Residuary subjects also known as reserved powers. According to our constitution, the union government has the power to legislate these laws. The subjects like computer software, e-commerce, e-banking, etc. includes in this list. Our next topic is how is federalism practiced? The real success of federalism in India can be attributed with the democratic politics in our country. Actually, the ideal federalism depends upon three things or three aspects. The first one is spirit of federalism, the second one is respect for diversity, and the third one is desire to live together. So, when our constitution was framed, so many tests for our Indian Confederation. So, the first one was linguistic states. The creation of linguistic states was the first and major test for democratic politics in India. The old states have vanished and new states have been formed. The territories, the areas, the boundaries were changed. From 1947 to 2017, many old states have vanished and many new states have been created. Areas, boundaries and the names of the states have been changed. Some states have been formed, the people who spoke the same language. That was known as linguistic states. And some other kinds of states were also formed on the basis of culture, ethnicity, geography. Such states are Nagaland, Jharkhand and Uttarakhand. When this problem arose, the creation of states on the basis of languages, the national leaders feared that it would lead to another type of disintegration of our country. So they resisted. So the central government resisted the linguistic states for some time. But actually, the formation of linguistic states helped to create national unity, spirit of nationalism and accommodate the regional diversities, and again it helps for the smooth functioning of our administration. The second test for the Indian Federation was language policy. Our constitution did not promote any language as any national language for any language. Hindi was identified as official language, but Hindi is the mother tongue of only 40% of Indian population. Our constitution has recognized other 21 languages as the scheduled languages. Every state has their own official languages. Our constitution asked to stop the use of English as an official language from 1965, but the non-speaking Hindi states, they argued or they demanded the use of English language to be continued. So promotion of Hindi became the official policy of our union government. The third test for our Indian Federation was restructuring the center-state relations. India is a democratic country with multi-party system. When a group of people come together to contest elections and hold power in the government is known as political parties. The three components of political parties are the leaders, the active members and the followers. We have 7 national political parties and many regional political parties. From 1990, many regional political parties arose in different parts of our country. This era was also known as the coalition era. Since if no single party gets a clear majority in Lok Sabha, the major national parties can alliance with many parties including several regional political parties to form a government at the center. This is known as coalition government. Actually, this led to a culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of the state governments. Our next topic is decentralization in India. When the power is taken away from the central government and state government and given to local self-government, it is known as decentralization. The idea behind the decentralization is that there are large number of problems and issues which are best settled at the local level. The local people can also directly participate in the decision making. A major step towards the decentralization was taken in 1992. The constitution was amended to make the three-tiered democracy more powerful and effective. Now, we will discuss about what are the key features of three-tiered democracy. It is a constitutional mandatory to hold regular election at the local government bodies. Second point, the seats are reserved in the elected bodies and the executive heads of the institutions for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward classes. Third point, at least 1/3 of all positions are reserved for women. Fourth point, State Election Commission has been created in each state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. Next point, the state governments are required to share some powers and revenue with local government bodies. Now, let us summarize what are the key features of three-tier democracy. First point, regular election to the governmental bodies. Second point, reservation for SC, ST and OBC. Third point, reservation for women candidates. Next one, state election commission in each states. Next one, financial support to local government bodies. Our next topic is local self-governments in rural areas. See, we have already discussed about the three-tier democracy, which is also known as local self-governments. The local self-government mainly in rural areas, urban areas and district. The local self-government in rural areas, it is known as Panchayati Raj. Each village or group of village in some states has a Gram Panchayat. This is a council consisting of several ward members, Panch, Sarpanch. Sarpanch means president, often called Panch or Sarpanch. They are directly elected by all the adult population living in that ward. Panchayat works under the supervisions of Grama Sabha. It has to meet twice or thrice to discuss about the annual budget and to review the performance of the Gram Panchayat. Next one. Next our topic is local self-government at the district level. A few Gram Panchayat together known as Panchayat Samiti, block or mandal. The members of the district level members elected from the ward itself. This is together known as Jilla Parishad. The members of Lok Sabha and the members of Legislative Assembly are also in the district level. Jilla Parishad chairperson is the political head of Jilla Parishad. The next one is local self-government in urban areas. The local self-government in urban areas known as municipalities. As Gram Panchayat is for rural areas, similarly we have municipalities for urban areas. The big cities are consisted into municipal corporations. Both municipalities and municipal corporations are controlled by elected bodies consisting of local people's representatives. The municipal chairperson is the political head of municipalities. And in a municipal corporation, such officer is called mayor. This new system of local government is the largest experiment in democracy conducted anywhere in the world. So, in this module, we have discussed about the federalism and decentralization. You can expect many direct questions and application level questions. Thank you.